Hey guys, it's Sam Roberts. The Monster Factory is one of the most famous wrestling schools in all of the United States of America. It's also the topic of the newest Apple TV Plus docuseries entitled Monster Factory. I decided to go down to the Monster Factory to see the facility for myself in person for the very first time, and while I was there, I got to know the trainer, Danny Cage, as well as two of the stars of the show, wrestlers in training, Gabby Ortiz and Twitch, and I thought I might share that conversation with you. Enjoy Danny Cage, Twitch, and Gabby from Monster Factory.
We are on location here at the Monster Factory, the set of the newest wrestling-themed reality show coming to Apple TV Plus. We're here with Danny Cage, who's the trainer here at the Monster Factory, Gigi and Twitch.
Gabby.
I'm Gabby. Gigi.
Gigi.
You got Mimi and
Gigi,
Gabby
Mimi,
mixed up.
Gabby.
That's our child's name. It's Gabby Ortiz.
Hold on, Mabby. Hold on.
Well, look, the whole world's going to find out who all of you are soon. This is, I think, the first thing that struck me, right? When I kind of heard this was happening, this struck me as every sort of wrestling thing that's ever been promised but not actually made good on.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like
right.
every promoter, every person that has a school has said, oh, yeah, Apple's interested. Oh, yeah, there's going to be. And then all of a sudden this trailer comes out, and I literally checked the YouTube channel to be like, I mean,
it's got to be a deep fake.
Right, they carnied their way onto
Yes,
Apple TV.
yes.
It's technically, if you download it, and I was
Yes.
like, wait, this is Apple's YouTube channel.
Yes.
This is the real deal. How did the show happen?
Wow. We were starting this before there was even an Apple TV. We started this in 2015. We got an email about, hey, and the people that wound up becoming public record was Will Krause and all these different people and Max, and they hit me up and they're like, hey, we just want to come out and film a little bit of stuff. And I'm like, cool, for what? And you're like, we're looking at to get a reel together for, to show what we can do. I'm like, cool. So they come out, they have all this equipment, and I'm like, this is great. And I was like, how long is it going to be? Like 90 minutes? They go, oh, maybe a minute and a half, 2 minutes. And I'm like, I think there's a little bit more here. And what they did was they filmed, and then the next week they're like, we're coming back. And then they came back. And then they put out this 16-minute short, got editor's pick on Vimeo, and it got all this traction and buzz. And then it was like, we're shopping for a show. And I'm like, cool. And then it was 5, 6, all this time. And then it would be like, they're interested. And then the carpet gets pulled out. Then right before the pandemic, this individual called Jeremiah Zagar, who is the man responsible for Hustle and all that stuff, he got onto the project. And when that happened, I think everybody started to pay attention and be like, oh, this could be real. And right before the pandemic, we were all set and like, somebody wants it. Now we have to wait. And we waited and waited. And then, it all paid off. Put it this way. If even a lot of people don't love this show and it's not everything, because like me, I always think something's going wrong. I always think something's going to turn out and it's going to be awful. But like, even if this show doesn't, like, I still love the experience for like what we all went through. Like we all had these journeys we went through. And within like 6 months, like, we didn't figure out how to solve them, but we figured out how to work together to try to solve these problems we're all going through. And that's what I think the show is more about. Like, as a pro wrestler, this is the kind of show I always wanted. Like, I know what all the other stuff is. It's not real. It's phony.
Yeah.
This is the stuff that's real. This is the behind the scenes footage of them going through the grind, them waking up, being miserable, and then having to get through the anxiety and to go through their life. And then this place. It tells a great story. That's all I can say. Like, as far as like what I look for in this show, that's it, the journey.
Yeah, and I mean that's what wrestling's about ultimately anyway, right? The journey and the story. For you, like Gabby, is this how long were you here at the school and then the show comes along, or how did you get involved?
It kind of happened around the same, like I showed up and then the show showed up. Like it was around the same. Yeah. And I my tryout was February 2015. So I was always hearing mullings about a TV show or a reality show or something coming in. So I was here from the ground floor. I wasn't involved in the short. I don't think I was here at the time. I might have been. I think I was actually in Japan when you guys were filming it. Was that it?
Well, yeah, and here's the thing, like with that, there's so many people that weren't in it because like they didn't know, the people filming it didn't know about wrestling. They just wanted it for the content and to show what they could do cinematically. Because like we had Damian Priest here, we had Riddle there. They didn't care, like they didn't care. They're just like, no, we got like Danny Cage and the Monster Factory, whatever. They didn't even know about Larry. Like I had to tell them about Larry Sharp and the Monster Factory. They had no clue. And then once they did, they're like, wow, this is like awesome. Like there's stories here.
Yeah, yeah. So you're in, and they start doing the show, and is it just like they get familiar with your story and what you've got going on and how you got here and what your kind of how this fits into your life?
Yeah, I just started talking to the people that were working on the show and wanting to get it developed. And I truthfully don't know why they were like, we want to highlight Gabby Ortiz's story, Twitch's story, Goldie, Mimi, or Bobby's. Like I don't know why they decided on us, but I think I know why, because we all have such different stories that are so interesting, and we're all friends with each other too. So it's just, it all kind of like melted together into this really beautiful,
It's a great,
painting. Basically, it's gorgeous. Yeah.
When did you realize it was real? Right, because that's, as I was kind of said in the beginning, this is what wrestling is, right? Yeah. It's potential. It's like this could happen. And 9 times out of 10, it doesn't.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's always been the case with wrestling. Is luckily I've had a couple of really cool experiences where it did happen, where it did pan out, and when I realized, all right, this is like super duper legit, is the first real day of filming when we had a COVID testing bus out front. I was like, oh, they like pulled out all the stops for this, and that was it. And then when I really saw the equipment and the amount of people that were there, and then it really sunk in when they rented out a restaurant for me and my dad to have lunch in. I was like, oh, they're trying to get like really good shots here. They want to make us look good. Okay. And that was like 3 months into filming already, and then it dawned on me, I was like, I gotta actually like really care about this.
yeah. This isn't like a kid with a camcorder selling DVDs in a show, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing. You're like, we're actually on a shoot, and Twitch. I mean, I guess having Tourette's kind of makes instantly gives there a point of interest. Your story?
I would definitely say so. There aren't a lot of, I wouldn't say there's any pro wrestlers that like, if they have Tourette's, I don't know about it. I think I'm the only one that's openly like, I mean, it's not going to be a part of my gimmick. It's just, it is me. Yeah. Yeah. Well, not legally, thank God. Thank God. That parents would have been really cruel for that one. No, it was just something that I didn't even want to go with that name at first. Kids used to call me that in school to bully me and stuff. So I kind of just wanted to keep it separate.
How did we decide on that?
Red Scorpion, actually, of all people. Yeah. I mean that, and then like, so I always say that there's this quote from the first episode of Game of Thrones that always inspired me. And it's when Tyrion Lannister, the imp, is talking to Jon Snow, and he goes like, never forget what you are. The world certainly won't wear it like armor, and it can never be used to hurt you. And also, any gimmick you give me, I'm gonna tick. So
yeah.
I might as well just.
It's less of a gimmick and more of an explanation.
Yeah.
Right?
It's the wrong streaming service.
Is wrestling something, Twitch, that you wanted to do since, forever, or is this something that you found?
It was something. It's a long story. But it saved my life.
You'll see it in the docuseries.
Yeah.
But
I wouldn't be here without wrestling. It was something that kind of always made me feel accepted, and like I could be a part of something. Like I didn't have to change and wear clothes I didn't want to wear, or listen to music I didn't want to listen to. Like I could just be me, and the crowd would accept me.
Was there a specific wrestler who did that for you?
CM Punk, Danielson, and Moxley.
Yeah.
But yeah, Punk was very. His moment was one of his moments was what kind of made me think, oh, I can do this.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we don't want to spoil it.
Sure, of course. We want everybody to watch
We
it.
don't want to spoil it, but you'll see what exactly, and it's like life-changing stuff because like I knew his story, and I'll get emotional talk about it. So pass the mic. Honestly, I will.
I mean, feel free.
It is very emotional.
So just you can talk for a little bit. Just let me get my.
I can do that.
No, I like the names that you brought up there too, Punk and Danielson and Mox, because I've talked about those guys as like in a world of larger than life superheroes, which I think there's a lot of place for in wrestling. There are some kids that's what you need as your role model. There's also this kind of more modern everyman wave of heroes where you're like, as a human being, you're watching and going, well, if I was a wrestler, you're sitting in the crowd going, if I was a wrestler, that's what I would be like. And then that guy, when he talks, that guy's talking to me. That guy, that's who that guy is. And there's a connection with all three of those guys that you can't manufacture.
I've always been drawn to those underdog kind of characters because, I knew that, not just with Tourette's, I have autism, I have anxiety. Like, I knew that anything that I would do was going to kind of be an uphill battle, right? So, not just with the wrestling, but, Danielson and Punk and Moxley and Sami Zayn, like that, just the ability to take a beating and then just get right back up and keep fighting and just keep fighting. And, the fight for your dreams thing that Danielson said, it hit me very hard. Like, it means a lot to me, speaks true to me. It's something I try to carry with me every day.
Yeah, that's kind of that, like, yep, you're bigger, you're tougher, you're more skilled, but you will never stop me. I'm just going to keep getting up.
And that's what I think is good about wrestling right now. The favorite part about wrestling is, like, I loved watching wrestling back in the day. And trust me, I've been watching wrestling since 83, 84. I remember, like, when Lightning Kid first came on the scene.
Yes.
I went, oh, wow. There's more than just those big, huge guys. And then Jerry Lynn and that series they had, that opened my eyes. Then, of course, I'm looking into, like, in my mind, I'm like, hey, I know Tiger Mask and all. I'm like, yeah, but that's because he's Tiger Mask. I'm not thinking. And then, like, now the doors are open to everything, every shape, size, gender, race, everything. And that's what is great about pro wrestling right now. That's my favorite part. Most people are like, oh, they shouldn't be in there. Why? Open the doors. You don't know what somebody can give to the business. Somebody who wouldn't have been in the business years ago is somebody who's changed his life for the better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And they would have said, no way, you're too small. You're not 6'5". You're not 300 pounds. So that's why good.
And they're just the biggest thing for me is, like, while I look up to those guys, I kind of want to be, there aren't a lot of wrestlers like me that are very open about the things that I have. So, I kind of want to do for me what I want to do for someone else what they did for me. Like, I want them to look at me and be like, well, if he can do it, then why can't I?
Yep.
So
how do you, Danny, like, how do you prepare people here at the Monster Factory for wrestling the way it looks like today? I think that, back in the day when you like Beyond the Mat and stuff like that, it was like this real, first of all, Beyond the Mat did no favors for wrestling schools.
No. It was the worst. I hate it. Like, everybody always asks me, like, I don't like any of that stuff. I don't like any of the negative stuff because there's already enough negative stuff out there. I don't need it. And all you're doing is scaring away people. And it's so easy to do it, and it'll generate a buck. But I always tell people, it's too many people live quarterly instead of life. Like, instead of going every 3 months, just live your life. Stop worrying about what's the next thing. Like, everybody's worried about, I always tell everybody here during training, stop worrying about picking up the dollar bills here and there every 5 feet when there's $1 million waiting at the corner.
Yes.
Because by the time you get there, someone else is going to grab that money because you're busy with the scraps.
Yeah.
And that is such low-hanging fruit. And pro wrestling school now, what I think is still, so we're backwards. Pro wrestling schools are backwards. We're not. But most pro wrestling schools are backwards because they spend 99.9% of the time just doing stuff in this ring. And that's not where wrestling is. This right here is maybe 5% of what you do. You'd be more time would be spent well learning production, learning camera direction, reading your lines, going over promos, getting you comfortable talking in front of a camera, doing things like that, then taking 50 back bumps. But guess what? You also can't get hurt doing promos, learning video production, doing all these things. So then you learn all that other stuff. But the wrestling fan, the person who wants to be a wrestler, thinks you can only become a wrestler by doing all this stuff in the ring. And I deal with it all the time.
Yeah, I'm not athletic. I didn't do sports in high school or middle school or anything like that. I was a theater kid at heart. I was a musician. I was not an athlete. And when I watched pro wrestling as an adult, I saw that it was not just moves and matches. It was acting. You have your segments. It was promos. There was music too, because everyone has a custom entrance music. There was fashion with your gear.
Who started the entrance? Let's get to this. Who started the entrance music? Who started that trend? That would be Darth Vader.
Oh yeah. What is it? Yeah, I don't know. That was the wrong one. I don't remember his entrance music. I'm a Grogu fan, so
Yeah. With the cape too and everything. It was
That was his entrance.
so there.
No,
all
you're right. I was going to say the Freebirds, but you're right. It was-
Credit to Darth Vader. So when I was able to realize that it was a media conglomerate and not just a sport, that's when I was like, oh, maybe I can do this, because I had training and all of those things. And that's why I've had the success that I've had on the indies, and when I went to Japan, and why I've been seen by WWE and AEW and Ring of Honor, is because I can do everything else. I made my own gear. I could do my own music if I wanted to. I know how to run a lighting board. I know how to do the sound. And it's because of him. And it's because of my training before this. And having all of that in your back pocket will make you successful in this business no matter what. There's always a place for you, even if you don't have like a six pack, and even if you can't do springboards or anything like that, there's a place for everybody in this business.
So how much control did you guys have in terms of what story was being told for Apple? Because like for me, one of the reasons that I love like the WWE's deal with A&E, for example, is I love translating wrestling to people who don't watch. And like you said, not the sort of clickbaity, negative, carny, stuff, but like, no, this is why we love it.
Well, here's how like we came up with the stories. We didn't come up with stories. We let everything go. And I told them that. I said, if I'm doing this, here's why we're doing it, and this is what I'm doing. And I'm not going to turn this into a real world type deal where it's not a reality show. It's a docuseries. Like this is a docuseries documenting these people's lives and the changes they go through. And it wasn't like, hey, you're doing the story arc too soon. Why don't you drag it out for the next month or so? We didn't do that. It was whatever it took, whatever the cards fell, whatever happened. Like you'll see one pivotal moment. Like I just came in, I told the crew, like, this is what I'm doing. I did it. I threw my battery pack down and I went out the back door. And they said nothing about it. No one got mad, nothing. And that was just what I'm doing.
Was it difficult to maintain sort of not only being an instructor, but being a business person and like keeping your school and teaching your students while also realizing there's a TV show being made?
No, because like here, say it.
Look, Danny, what you see with Danny in this docuseries is what you see with Danny in real life.
Dude, I
love him so much. He's a prick, but I love him so much.
That's so refreshing.
But like
though.
that cares though. Like he's in the good way.
Because that's the thing that I worry about, right? Is that like these opportunities come up and like people in your position are like, this is where I'm going to get myself over. This is where I'm going to I'm going to be the star here.
Yeah, I did not care about, and I don't care about that. Like I don't. Like I would gladly like have no credits in this and just be in the background and just have it all be about them. But like the reason I'm not very successful in wrestling is also because of this. Meaning like with other businesses, meaning like with other federations, with other people, because like I say what's on my mind and I do and say what I'm going to do. And that's it. And people don't like that. They're like, wait a minute, you're not going to do this for it. Like, I'll work with you. I'm not bending over backwards. I'm not compromising my principles. Like I have my strict things of what I worry about. Like I'll gladly lose money and everything if it means it's the right thing. I will. And people saw me do it here many times. And that's just the way I do it. Like I've had people come to me and say, I'll give you X amount of dollars, train me. And I'll be like, no, like you're a bad person. Like, no,
Really?
yes, I don't like everybody that comes in here. I'll accept everybody. But like, if you come in and you're spreading hate and you're being an awful human, I don't care how much money you have, you're not here. I don't want you in wrestling.
And you'll have that conversation with somebody.
Oh, absolutely.
We can't
and I'll
have
have it with everybody here. I don't have it privately. All my stuff happens with everybody around, because every time I have to discipline somebody or every time we have an issue, now there's certain things I'll sit and I'll be like, hey, we should handle this private, because it is private. But if you're acting a fool, then you're getting put on blast and you're getting showed the door in front of everybody. So then everyone else goes, he's got our back, and also don't do that.
Yeah, let me not be in that position.
Right. So, and that's
Is that the way you've always been, or was there a
Oh, no,
point-
I've always been that way.
Yeah,
but
from
like,
the beginning.
But here, I started training people in like 2011. And the last time I was around wrestling was the 90s. So like in my mind, I'm thinking old school 90s, and I'm having them do nothing but back bumps and, you know, chop drills and stuff, you know, stuff we used to do. And then like, I'm like, maybe I shouldn't do that, because that was all the stuff I also hated, and the hazing and all that. And I was like, so let's try to phase that out. But then also I had other people around me. So I'm like, so slowly, like it's been an evolution. Plus, like these kids helped me like become better parents, and my kids helped me be a better coach. You know what I mean? Because you get to understand, like, they're not throwing tantrums. It's the only way they know how to communicate.
Right.
You know, and these kids aren't skipping practice. They just have anxiety and they don't want to tell me what their issues are. I got to open that door for them.
Wow.
So this is like all the stuff we try to do here. And that's why we're different.
And the way you describe training is also like, when you're a parent, you catch yourself disciplining your kid in a way because it's the way you were disciplined, and then you think
You're
for
like,
a second,
oh my
like,
God,
this is what stressed me. This did nothing for me. This wasn't the way to
exactly.
let me change.
It drives my wife nuts that I let my kids talk back to me, because when I grew up, I was terrified to talk back to my parents, but that also meant I was terrified to even open up to them.
Right.
So if my kids have the balls to tell me to shut up and go to hell, I'm sure they're going to be able to have any kind of talk with me. So I don't mind that. I don't say like, yeah, good job, do that in public more.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I understand and I applaud them. I'm glad they're not afraid of me.
So what were you doing? How did you get out of wrestling and then back? Like, what was that 10-year gap?
In about year 2000, I started in 98. About 2004, my back was just done. My L5, L4, back was shot. And I got out, and plus I was working for the phone company. I was making 6 figures. I was a union worker, full benefits. I was dating my then wife at the time. We started dating when I was wrestling, so she knew the deal. And then I'm making great money, and I got out completely, and I started writing and doing political satire stuff for different comedian friends. And it was like 2010, I just bumped by a buddy who had a wrestling school, and then Larry was coming by.
Yeah.
And Larry came by, and he goes, well, why don't you make this the Monster Factory? And then me and Larry got to talking, and he was like, hey, if you want to do this, you know, I want to pass the torch to you. And in 2011, I bought the school. I had no student. I had like 2 paying students, 2 students that were leftovers from another one, and then no ring, no building. And
just the name.
Yes, no ring, no building. And one of those people was Steve Macklin, who's, you know, he was one of my first students to get signed, and he had 18 matches.
Wow.
And get signed. And it's just one of those things where you're like, maybe I got lucky, and then more and more things come. But that's how I got out of wrestling, is I was beat. And plus I didn't like it. I didn't like what I was surrounded with. And then it's kind of like, hey, now I have a chance to do things the way I want to do it.
Yeah, be the change, right?
Yep. And then I have enough people around me thinking like me, and now we're taking over.
Yeah.
You know, I'd rather have that.
Gabby, were there people for you that you would watch and go like, this is what's attracting me to the wrestling business, this is what's making me want to be a wrestler?
The first one that comes to mind is AJ Lee, because she was the first like 5 foot, 110 pound soaking wet Puerto Rican punk girl, and that was literally me when I was watching her. I was this 5 foot, 100 pound soaking wet punk girl that, like, you know, I was crazy too. Like, I am crazy. Clinically, there's like documentation in a good way sometimes. But yeah, she was definitely like the one that I saw myself in for the first time. Because, I mean, everything about her, I think about her today, and she still like warms my heart, just like thinking of seeing her and seeing how she talked. And and her moveset and the way that she dressed and all of it. I loved her so freaking much. Her and Lita too. Lita, when I was a little bit younger, seeing her style too, my brother was a much bigger fan of her than I was for different reasons. We don't gotta get into that. But AJ and Paige, well, Soraya now, she's they were just like the rock star girls, and that was me. That I was into like punk music and emo music, and they looked like the girls that I would go see at the shows, and I just related to them so much just by their look. And then when they got in the ring and the way they carried themselves and their promos, I was like, they can do it. I can do it too. I'm them. They're me. Yeah. And you know, now I'm like, I'm hoping to be in the same leagues as them. That would be amazing.
Yeah. It's just it's so thematic. It's that whole like new generation, like new way of thinking. This is relating to an entirely new set of people, which is all what this is all about. Man, I'm so excited for you guys. As soon as I saw the trailer, I reached out to Lee and I was like, you know what? Let's set something up. Let's do something. And obviously I've known about the Monster Factory forever. I'm
so glad and so happy because like I was telling these kids before it started, I'm like, this is going to be something special. Trust me on this. Like, I know their vision and I trust it. And if I'm trusting these guys, you should too, because I don't trust anybody.
And dude, like,
right.
Without, blowing smoke, it's Apple TV.
Apple TV Plus.
Apple TV Plus just won the Best Picture award. Apple TV Plus just did Blackbird.
As you know,
Ted Lasso. I mean, come on.
As you know, in pro wrestling, though, the stories will come out. I didn't earn this. It was because of this. It was because of that.
Didn't even want. I mean, I'm sure that every single school anywhere within 100 miles from here is got all kinds of rumors.
Right
about how you
but
underhandedly.
Here's the thing that will tell you about me. As soon as this project started, all I did was reach out to various people saying, I think it's a good idea if you start coming here more. I think it's a good idea if you start coming here more. I think it's a good idea if you take this booking here because this is going to be happening. I can't tell you what, but you don't know how many people that said, yeah, I've heard that before, or screw you. Yeah. And I'm just like, I'm trying. Okay. I'm trying.
Yeah.
And the thing is, here's also, if they come back to me and they go, oh, can we do wrestle now? I go, yeah. Because like.
You don't hold a grudge.
No. And as long as they learn their lesson. They saw it. Now they have to just eat crap and come back.
Yeah.
And we know why.
Yeah.
I know why. They don't have to, like, hat in hand go, I'm sorry, I messed up. I just go, just get in here. Don't be an idiot next time. Yeah. Because if you ever learn a lesson, now you're going to be that bitter guy, and he's going to make it miserable for everybody else.
Yeah.
I'll just welcome him back in. I don't care.
Have as we're wrapping up, do you know if WWE or AEW or any of those other organizations have heard about the show or have thoughts on the show?
There's AEW people in it. QT Marshall's in it.
Oh, that's great.
Cody Vance is in it. QT was a student here and a coach here. Cody Vance got his start here. They were in it. Kevin Kelly was in it. Nobody from WWE. But there's some synergy there because somebody winds up possibly getting a tryout, maybe not, maybe getting a contract, maybe not, you don't know. Yeah. But here's the thing, like, maybe they'll return my emails after this. I mean, that's it. I mean, I've given them enough people, but I don't know, maybe they'll return my email because I have a streaming TV show, but we'll see. We'll see.
Hopefully, I haven't seen the show yet. I'm going to get some links from Lee, hopefully, but I would imagine that you're putting wrestling in a positive light, which is like, that's what it's for me, that's what I'm excited about.
With like dark side of the ring stuff going on.
Yeah, I didn't need that.
We wanted to give the opposite of that.
Yes.
And that's what we're doing.
Yes. Well, I can't wait to see it. I hope that you all are looking forward to it as much as I am. And I appreciate you making some time and opening your doors to us here. This is amazing.
Thank you. Our doors are always open to you.
Thank you, man.